Welcome to SwitchCorner, my name is Alex and today we're going to be looking at PowerWash Simulator on the Nintendo Switch, and I've been excited for this one. So today we'll be looking at gameplay, how it's translated to the Switch, the graphics, the audio, the Tomb Raider DLC, and then I'll give a final verdict. With that, let's get started. It's minimal, but I do want to give it a mention. There is a story, it's weirdly enjoyable, it's a simple one. You've started a new business and with the help of a friend, you'll be travelling all over the town of Muckingham to clean up properties, vehicles and just, I guess, all sorts. While the communication in here is mostly just pointing you to that next job via text message, there's a surprising amount of charm packed in. If you do enjoy videos like this, consider subscribing. We have reviews like this one and deals daily here on the channel. The gameplay then, and this was a surprise hit over on Game Pass. That's where I first experienced the game myself, and I've now sunk in a fair few hours. I've actually put about 6 hours into this Switch build currently, but I will be attaching a score to this video. I do want to be transparent about that, however, because realistically, with over 40 locations to clean, the average completion time here is right around 30 hours, and for me, this video was more about how does it all perform. I'll actually get that out the way immediately as well. I thought it did great. The frame rate appears to be sitting somewhere between 40 and 50 frames per second, and yes, there was the occasional minor stutter, but it is consistent for what I'd call a 99% this far, so it felt fine for the task at hand. The only noticeable and major difference performance-wise, the load screens into a location, they were a tad on the long side, but once you are in, you are good to go with no further screens ahead of you. The actual core gameplay then, and the name gives you a big clue of what to expect, but there's a surprising amount of depth here if you take the time to work towards it. You know, this is not a game where you're going to be running through it as quickly as possible. In fact, I'd suggest you play it in smaller chunks, but yeah, it's just overall incredibly relaxing, and many of these levels are quite in depth. They're going to take you at least probably an hour each. The first location you'll come across then is a backyard, and you'll quickly realise just how much dirt is ahead of you. What could have been a grind, however, has smartly been designed to reward you frequently. It's not clean the whole yard, get a payday, rather get paid by each item, so the stones, the deck chairs, the ponds. It's a constant feed of tick boxes next to the item you finished, and dependent on your personality, that can be incredibly rewarding because, well, this just happens to fit in perfectly with my personality. I live my life based on a Kanban style board, so I'm wired now to enjoy tackling tasks and seeing them complete. What many will also like alongside this is the game's constantly feeding you new locations to explore. It's not a game which demands you 100% a location. Rather, you'll hit certain check markers and another might unlock. Maybe that will be something quick and small, a motorbike or a golf cart, some sort of vehicle. Maybe, however, it will be larger, like a bungalow, a skate park, or a theme park. There's a nice amount of variety in here, demanding a different approach for each. You can leave then and come back to any of the locations as well as you please. Starting the game then, it's pretty basic. We have our power washer and a number of nozzles which provide varying results for pressure and area of effect. The gameplay is this loop of determining what dirt needs which nozzle. On top of that though, with progression, we will earn cash and we can visit a store. So here we can drop cash on better power washers, new and improved nozzles and extensions, such as think a soap nozzle, a must buy in my opinion, or extensions such as ones that are going to allow you to reach further locations. It's particularly going to be useful as locations with progression, they do get more vertical. We can also then buy different cleaning liquids, which can really be a time save. We can personalize the look of our equipment. Apart from that, then it's essentially point and shoot, and there's a huge amount of work ahead of you. It very much controls as well like any first-person shooter you've played before, you know, left stick moves, the right aims, but we can also crouch, go prone, and jump. It's also worth noting here, this game has got a fair few people with motion sickness, including myself, and I really, never suffer. This is probably the second game I can name off the top of my head. If that should happen to you though, you can tap up on the D-pad and it will lock the camera, only moving the gun itself. So I'd suggest blending the two options here together. That latter one has very much been designed to tackle this. We also then have a few quick access options as well on the controller. Triggers rotate the power washer between horizontal and vertical. We can use the triggers as well to switch out nozzles. We can select different soaps, and most importantly then, we can tap right on the D-pad, which highlights all remaining dirt. Probably not all of that important when you load into a level, but as you do progress and the percentage in the upper left of the screen gets closer to 100%, then you'll absolutely be grateful for it. The same can be said of the checklist of items from the pause menu, which is represented as a tablet. The only other feature that will come up quickly is environmental equipment, stepladders, scaffolding, stools. These are all going to be objects that you can pick up and move around the environment, and will often be required to get to certain locations, especially when you're rocking that underpowered beginner kit. I won't say the controls are perfect, honestly, they can feel a little jerky at times, and loading in I felt like the movement was way too slow, but after playing with the sensitivity, I was able to get it to a comfortable point. The disappointment on the Switch though for me, I was really hoping for motion controls would have been particularly perfect when you lock your power washer on screen to avoid that motion sickness, but sadly, in this current state, there is no motion included. Outside of the career mode then, you'll also find special missions. These include everything from mini golf courses, that one's particularly disastrous, to a trip to Mars to clean the rover. Once you complete locations as well, you can face challenges there, such as racing against a timer or working with limited water. It even includes co-op, which sounds like a blast, but sadly I couldn't test this as I don't know anyone with the game at this point. I'm definitely looking forward to that full release for that reason. The Tomb Raider DLC then, I've only seen the mansion. My understanding is we will be unlocking vehicles to clean as well, but this location is just absolutely massive. Now thankfully, it's a special location, so the game automatically gears you up with the very best tools of the trade, scaffolding and all. But jumping in with a fair bit of experience with the game now, I didn't even know where to begin. This is one I'm going to be saving for co-op, where we can get through it just a little bit quicker. It is great to see the mansion though, even if it has seen better days. Overall, a PowerWash Simulator, it won't be for everyone, and I didn't think it was going to be for me, but here we are visiting the game a second time because I absolutely had to share it. With the bonus then of handheld play as well, and its particularly relaxing pace, it is the perfect addition to the Switch library, even if the lack of gyro controls is a little disappointing. Graphically then, I think they've done a good job. It was never the most demanding game to deal with, but the locations look good, they get a nice amount of variety in, and the visual effects, you know, the dirt washing away or highlighting where the dirt is, it has all been kept in place. I will say though, towards that 100% mark, the visual effect for identifying what dirt remains can get a little tricky to see. That's going to be important though, because you can clearly now see your progression at least, so it definitely works for the majority of the time. I do wish some of these locations had a little bit more life in them around you. Even just an increase in ambience would have made it feel more alive. You know, it's a shame we're in this town, but we never really see anyone else but the locations themselves. On an audio front then, it's here because there's really not much to it. Tablet sounds, the water sounds good, and the music then is minimal. In fact, I instantly turn it off and play my own soundtrack, and that's kind of the best thing about this. It's a game you can play while things are, you know, kind of going on around you. So that's PowerWash Simulator. When I first saw it was joining Game Pass, I didn't really get it, and I didn't think it would get any attention. Then it blew up, so I had to check it out, and at that point, I was sold. A satisfying loop of explore, clean, understand tools, and repeat. With the addition then of the Tomb Raider DLC, it's clear how easy crossovers could be for this game, and I hope it's successful because I'd love to see more from them. Again, like I'm 5 or so hours in on the Switch build, but if I had to score it from what I've seen here versus the Xbox build, it's a good 7 out of 10. I think skipping gyro was a big miss on their part, which could have made this the best way to play. I recognise that some of the visual effects identifying the location of dirt, it's a little bit more challenging on the Switch build, and then I do know towards the latter levels it can get a little too complicated for its own good. That said, it's not intended as well to be long play sessions. If you do sink hours on end into this one, it probably will start to burn on you a little bit, that kind of constant grind and constant loop of clean and repeat. Will you be grabbing PowerWash Simulator? Then let me know in the comments. With that, hit subscribe, join us here for reviews and deals daily, and I'll see you all on the next video. Thanks everyone.